a light. It shines unwaveringly for a time, but it does not burn forever without the choice to tend it. It is not born through its own accord. It is given with care from one generation to the next. This light is kindled today with intention and attention, and it will be shared with the world, not through some unthinking happenstance, but through the active choice we make to pass it on. We kindle this chalice for the light of hope, the fire of commitment, and the warmth of community. May we choose today and every day to pass it on by the power of our own actions and a vision of love that will not let us go, will not let us down, and will not let us off the hook. Amen, my friends. Let's do this. Hold the light. Keep the faith. Hold on.
1, 2, 3. Waking alone again, wondering how much longer can we hold on? Can we hold on? The space between us and them fills with a cold, cold fire. Can we hold on? Can we hold on to the dreamer? All the people came to mend, came to see, keep one another moving forward until we are free. Free. And when we get through this, what stories will we tell? Will we hold on? Will we hold on to what was best in us, or to how short we fell? Will we hold on? Hold on to the dream of all the people came to mend, came to see, keep one another moving forward until we are free. Till we are free, we'll be that bridge too strong into a new beyond. If we hold on, if we hold on, and if you can't find your home, you can just take my hand. If we hold on, if we hold on, we will 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 hold on. We will hold on.
Good morning and welcome to River Road Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I'm Reverend Amanda Weatherspoon, your associate minister. This is a community of spirit, community, and service in which we welcome the fullness of who we all are. If you're watching from YouTube Live this morning, welcome to each one of you. If you're watching later on YouTube or listening to the podcast, welcome to you as well. If you're new to our service this morning and you'd like to connect with us afterwards, just drop us a line, an email to membership@rruuc.org. For this month of November, our worship theme is healing, the ways that we find and seek healing in our hearts, in our communities, and in our wider world. But this morning, we feel like the theme is celebration. We don't know why, but we are just feeling kind of celebratory here at River Road in the building this morning for just no particular reason at all. And although we cannot shout in this building and we cannot sing in this building, from where you are this morning, you are invited to dance. You are invited to move your bodies in joyful movement. You are invited to join us here at River Road for this moment in time. Come, let us worship and celebrate together.
Won't everybody join me in the celebratory hymn, We'll Build a Land? We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, united by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall flow down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land, building up ancient cities, rising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where the oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come, build a land, my people we seek. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
Good morning. I'm Chris McCann, your religious educator for children. This morning, I'd like to share a story with you written by the late civil rights leader and Congressman John Lewis as a preface to his memoir, Walking with the Wind. Congressman Lewis writes, "About 15 of us children were outside my Aunt Suneva's house, playing in her dirt yard. The sky began clouding over. The wind started picking up. Lightning flashed far off in the distance. And suddenly, I wasn't thinking about playing anymore. I was terrified. Aunt Suneva was the only adult around, and as the sky blackened and the wind grew stronger, she herded us all inside. Her house was not the biggest place around, and it seemed even smaller with so many children squeezed inside, small and surprisingly quiet. All of the shouting and laughter that had been going on earlier outside had stopped. The wind was howling now, and the house was starting to shake. We were scared. Even Aunt Suneva was scared. And then it got worse. Now the house was beginning to sway. The wood plank flooring beneath us began to bend, and then a corner of the room started lifting up. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. None of us could. This storm was actually pulling the house toward the sky, with us inside it. That was when Aunt Suneva told us to clasp hands. "Line up and hold hands," she said, and we did as we were told. Then she had us walk as a group toward the corner of the room that was rising. From the kitchen to the front of the house we walked, the wind screaming outside, sheets of rain beating on the tin roof. Then we walked back in the other direction as another end of the house began to lift. And so it went back and forth, 15 children walking with the wind, holding that trembling house down with the weight of our small bodies. More than half a century has passed since that day, and it struck me more than once over those many years that our society is not unlike the children in that house, rocked again and again by the winds of one storm or another, the walls around us seeming at times as if they might fly apart. It seemed that way in the 1960s, at the height of the civil rights movement, when America itself felt as if it might burst at the seams. So much tension, so many storms. But the people of conscience never left the house. They never ran away. They stayed. They came together and they did the best they could, clasping hands and moving toward the corner of the house that was the weakest. And then another corner would lift, and we would go there. And eventually, inevitably, the storm would settle and the house would still stand. But we know another storm would come, and we would have to do it all over again. And we did. And we still do. All of us, you and I. Children holding hands, walking with the wind.
By way of announcements, how could we begin with anything but gratitude? For that original composition written by Cliff Hardin for this moment. For Michael Nonsel, whose singing voice finds a way to convey everything we cannot say. For Pastor Teresa Soto and Scarth Locke, who brought us our prelude for every single gift of beauty. We gather in gratitude today. Also, for all of the amazing work of the collaboration of 16 different congregations and organizations and 1,200 volunteers who worked with UU The Vote right here in the DC area. Our work made a difference. I give a special shout out and all the love in the world to the over 100, yes, over 100 fabulous volunteers from our Go Vote 2020 team right here at River Road. That leadership team, you know who you are. You know our love and devotion to you. That leadership team worked for a year to do the ground game of infrastructure building that included a grant from our UUA, allowing our voter outreach efforts to soar. Every one of you, more than 100 of you, worked diligently You sent over 3,000 postcards. You served in many areas, serving more than just a party, serving your values, picking up, delivering stamps, coordinating, and participating on so many levels. You showed the way in partnering with people of faith at All Souls, with the Reeb Voting Project, with people of goodwill across even the partisan divide. You are what democracy looks like. You are the best of us. Bravo. We lift up today that the best of us and the best of what we will be is generated when we have the courage to tell our stories and to imagine a different future together. And that is just what we are doing in conjunction with the Potomac Partnership Congregation Story Gatherers Project. We invite you to share your written responses to a series of questions as we continue to explore what Unitarian Universalism and our ministry in it look like in the coming years and decades that will follow. And please, please, have a look at our e-weekly newsletter for the first ever and maybe first annual River Road UU Congregation Zooms Giving. That's right, we've got each other in these difficult and precarious times, and we will carve a party out of thin air if we need to. We are here always, and we are going nowhere at all. We light our candles of joy and concern today, just as we do every Sunday. We light our candles of joy and of concern for all those who work in the vineyard of the democratic process. For all those, regardless of ideology, who squeeze life and possibility from the raw materials of the people's voice. We light a candle for the public servants and the civil servants, for the government employees, which includes so very, very many of us in this company town. We light a candle for the people who put their heads down and get the job done and find a way through the mess with dignity and patience and perseverance. We light a candle this Veterans Day for our veterans, for all of us, for each of you at home right now looking out into the sunshine so hard fought in our lives. We light a candle for each of you with your hand held over a heart that beat only for your country when that country needed you most and everything was at stake. We light a candle for your service and for your fear and for your courage and your pain and all those lost alongside you. We thank you. For each and every family who woke to news of new infections as the spread of COVID-19 continues unabated, as cases mount day by day, and we lose the ones we love, and the exhaustion continues, and the people fight on. And for each and every one of us, holding joys and sorrows yet unspoken, so many of us still in a waiting moment between the beginning and the full unfolding, for family and friends near and far away, we kindle this light. Our prayer this morning is a poem. It is a shout out. It is a call to uplift the leadership in all the people, the presidential powers granted to us all, by us all, granted to the best within us, the power held in the ones who make the choices every day to make life more livable for everyone. And so settle in, my friends, settle in right where you are. Let the words wash over you in this poetic work. A hymn of praise for a presidential people. The work of the great poet Danez Smith. May their gift be a blessing. This piece entitled, My President. Today, I elect Jonathan. 11 and already making roads out of water, young genius blog writer, lil community activist, curls tight as pinky sweaters, black as my nation. I trust the world in his tender blooming hands. I trust him to tell me which rivers are safe to drink and which hold fish like a promise. And I elect Eve Ewing, who I know would frizzle the country into one big classroom where grandmas finger paint the national budget into one big work of art. And Colin Kaepernick is my president, who kneels on the air, bent toward a branch, throwing apples down to the children and the vets. And my mama is my president. Her grace stunts on amazing brown hands baking brown bread over the mouths of the hungry until none are unfed. And my grandma is my president, and her cabinet is her cabinet. Because she knows to trust what the pan knows. She knows how the skillet wins the war. And the man I saw kicking his way down the river, he is my president. And the trans girl making songs in her closet, spinning the dark into a booming dress, she too is my president. And Shonda Rhimes is my president. And Nate Marshall is my president. And Trina is my president. And the boys outside the Walgreens selling candy for a possibly fictional basketball team, they are my presidents. And the bus driver who stops after you yell wait only twice is my prez. And the dude at the pizza spot who will give you a free slice if you are down to wait for him to finish the day's fourth prayer is my president. And my auntie, only a few months clean but clean, she is my president. And my neighbor who holds the door open when my arms are full of laundry is my president. And every head nod is my president. And every child singing summer with a red, sweet tongue is my president. And the birds and the cooks and the single moms especially, and the dealers and the teachers and the meter maid who lets you slide, and the cab drivers who stop, and the nurses' swollen feet, and the braiders' exhausted hands, and the bartender, and Beyonce, and all her kids, and the rabbi, and the sad girls, and the leather daddy who always stops to say good morning, and the boy crying on the train, and the sudden abuela who rubs his back, and the uncle who offers him water, and the drag queen who begins to hum, oh, my presidents, my presidents, my presidents. Show me our nation. My only border is my body. I sing your names, your names, my mighty anthem.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Each week at River Road, we have the opportunity to give generously of our hearts, give generously of our gifts that we have in this community. There are many ways to give here at River Road. Of course, you can always go online to our website at rruuc.org/giving and check out our giving page. There, you'll learn more information about why we give, how we give, and all of the ways that you can give during this virtual time. Of course, there's text to give. The text to give number is 73256. That's 73256, and you'll be able to find that number in the chat. You'll be able to find that number also online. When you text to give, you can text 73256 plus RRUUC and then the amount. Whenever you give, however you give, and wherever you give, please give generously as you are willing and able.
Out of the ruins and rubble, out of the smoke, out of a night of struggle, can we see a ray of hope, one pale thin ray, reaching for the day. We can build a beautiful city, yes we can. Hear the call, we can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but we can build a city of hope. We may not reach the ending, but we can start, slowly but truly mending, brick by brick, heart by heart. Now, maybe now, we start learning how we can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Hear the call. We can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but we can build a city of all. When your trust is all but shattered, when your faith is all but killed, you can give up bitter and battered, or you can slowly start to build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Hear the call. We can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but finally a city of all. A city for
Today, by way of preaching. I'm going to start, or heck, maybe just end, with two stories from the history of this republic we share, not my own meanderings or opinions or prognostications, but two stories from American democracy that tell us something of what it is to be one another's people in times like these. These stories, perhaps apocryphal, it's hard to tell, in the legends of American history. They are anecdotes of those who came before, those who fought and worked and worried and created from the midst of broken systems and had the courage to say true things out loud in calamitous times. I'm going to start by going way, way back to Philadelphia. A grand center full of people, the room where it happens, the decisions being made, in that way not so different than this last week when all eyes were on Philadelphia once again. I take us back today to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia of 1787, when much of what we now take to be the bedrock of American democracy was very much still up for debate. The men were sequestered in Independence Hall, behind closed doors, debating in what must have been a smoke-filled room, trying not to fall asleep or fall at each other's throats while the debate raged about just what this thing they were founding really would be. In echoes of the present moment, the world watched and waited. If at a somewhat longer delay at the length of a printed broadside or a town crier careening through the streets on horseback, the world waited for an answer from Philadelphia. The world waited for an answer from America. What would it be? Everyone wanted to know. What would this system emerge as? There were monarchists ready to set a crown upon George Washington's head or their own. There were Federalists and the Democratic Republicans arguing about which international ties would bind, and the Southern states' riders planting their flags on slave-tended soil. Yes, they were all there. There they were, and the story says that the crowds of the people, they gathered around Independence Hall one afternoon, anticipating perhaps some answers to the questions they had waited and waited and waited for. A Philadelphia Society matron, Elizabeth Willing Powell, the wife of the mayor of that city, a mover and shaker in her own right, she is said to have found a place near the front of the crowd right in time to greet that great quipper of quips, Benjamin Franklin, as he exited the hall. "Doctor," she is said to have called out over the din of the gathered voices. "Doctor, what have we got? A monarchy or a republic?" "A republic," he said, "if you can keep it." That was the answer, or at least it is the answer that history books record. "A republic if you can keep it," he said, and he strode off into that Philadelphia evening with history tagging at his heels. "A republic if you can keep it," he said, "you. It is yours to keep or to lose, yours to fight for or abandon. It is yours," Franklin said. "The republic does not belong to people in the room where it happens, back in Independence Hall, or any of the other halls of sequestered power we have yet to build. It belongs to all of us, and if we mean to keep it that way, the little tale tells us we would best see this thing we have created as our business to protect, as our business to rebuild, if we can keep it. And if the we speak of when we say we can continue to get ever bigger than the wealthy white landowning barons back in that room from which he came. A republic if you can keep it, a republic if we can keep it. Halls of power in this country, we know, have been closed to a narrow definition of we the people throughout the whole history of our nation. Over and over again, the glass ceilings have been shattered by those who were too irrepressible to believe that anyone else but those gathered for their moment of history could shatter them. So it was at the dawn of the second story that I have to tell you today. A story that was gifted to me this week by Bishop William Barber of the Poor People's Campaign, breaking barriers every day with his courage. He reminded me of another moment in American history, a moment in May of 1849, when Frederick Douglass rose to speak in Boston's Faneuil Hall before a crowd of abolitionists and activists. He rose to speak up about the fact that Mexico had abolished slavery 20 years previously, and that this United States of ours proposed annexation of those free lands, while we ourselves remained mired in the devastation that racism wrought. Douglass is often remembered as the most compelling public speaker of his age. He was the Michelle Obama of his moment. His words came in waves. His presentment was with grace. He stood in his perfectly cut suit, all swagger and power and flashing-eyed anger and dignity, showing the whole world that black is beautiful. He stood in that place, and the crowd that was massed there among his listeners brought with them old Sojourner herself. Sojourner Truth, who cut quite a different figure than Frederick at the podium. Her face more a mass of wrinkles than anything else. Her accent as thick as an old-growth forest. She wore unfashionably cut old shifts, the better to gird up her loins and fight. Style and elocution, nothing of her concern so much as sheer determination. Each of them, Frederick and Sojourner, pulsing with a power all their own, so different, so strong, just like the people of this country. And the great man, he stood in that historic place, and he spoke of the evils of American slavery, of the brokenness at the heart of this democratic republic, of what we had wrought, and what would yet remain should white people in this country continue in perpetuity to proclaim their innocence at the cost of everything else. He said in that place at that time that we should not worry about Mexico. Instead, he proclaimed there is a state of war at the South at this moment in this country. The slaveholder is waging a war of aggression on the oppressed. The slaves are under his foot. Why you Americans, you threw up your caps in honor of the victory achieved by republicanism over royalty. You shouted out loud, "Long live the Republic," and joined heartily in the watchword of liberty, equality, and fraternity. And should you not hail with equal power and equal pleasure the tidings of the South that slaves had risen and achieved for himself against the iron-hearted slaveholder what the Republicans of France achieved against the royalists of that country? Should you not hail the uprisings of our own nation? He went on to tear apart the hypocrisy that rested at the soul of our Republican state. He went on to tear apart the complicity to tyranny that had been in evidence from the beginning, calling each and every one to rise up against the tide of injustice at home, rather than waste their breath proclaiming symbolic praises of freedom from a safe and comfortable distance. History books recall his Faneuil Hall speech as Frederick Douglass's most pessimistic oratory of all time. He concluded ultimately that the white people of America would never willingly disassemble the apparatus of oppression. Only open rebellion, he said, would stop them. Open rebellion on American soil, the process playing out would never be enough, he said. And though he was far too classy to put it this way, the whole damn system is guilty as hell. And at some point in his speech, as the great orator was winding down, From the rear of the speaker's podium, for yes, the women were always speaking from the crowd or the rear or the back. From the rear, an uncultured and insistent voice is said to have called out powerfully to him, "Frederick," said Sojourner Truth, "is God dead?" "Is God dead?" she shouted, as if to say, "Is this desolation you speak of so complete? Is the object of our faithfulness finally and fully departed from us in this nation? Is there no hope for this republic? Is God dead?" she shouted. And as far as I can tell, history does not record the great orator's answer, only that she stopped him for a moment. And the one who always knew just what to say, for a heartbeat had no words. And it strikes me that both of them were right. That the hope for a republic which is not dead, the object of our faithfulness that has not been fully vanquished from view, the holy ideal that is worth fighting for, it is there as surely as it ever was, and it cannot be lived into and fought for and sustained unless we have the courage right here and now to keep telling the truth about this nation, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how painful it is, no matter how pessimistic it sometimes seems, for the bedrock of a whole new story. The foundation of a beautiful city cannot be built on lies, but only the honest truth of what has got us this far by faith, and the fact that still the full repudiation of racism and oppression has not come from the rooms where it happens in this nation, to bring it all to this present moment. As Monica Hess so brilliantly put it in the Washington Post this week, win or lose, Trumpism will not have been swept into the dustbin of history. It will remain all over the furniture, unsweepable. The bad parts of America are not blips, they're characteristics. For every stone monument to democracy, an enslaved person forced to build a monument to democracy. For every all men are created equal, a reminder that it really did only include men and only some of them. Do you know, she says, how hard it is to love this place sometimes? As we move forward, in order to keep this republic, people of integrity and goodwill shall have to live as both Frederick and Sojourner, thunderously honest, compelling enough to persuade, and ready to fight for a faith that we will not let die. We must take the mandate given to us by Ben Franklin and remember that this republic is not someone else's, but ours to keep. And we will keep this republic, still worthy of some measure of our faith, by continuing to speak the truth of both its power and its brokenness, no less on this day than on all the days that came before. We will continue to believe that the object of our faithfulness, the larger love that calls us all, is not dead and is not dying and is not beholden to any party loyalty and will not retreat permanently in this nation of ours, even though that faith will be tested in the months and years to come. Tested when we see how far we have yet to go. Tested when we comprehend the full truth of our history. Tested when we realize that the work of keeping and building and rebuilding a republic is ours to do and nobody else's, and that no one person and no one party is coming to save us from ourselves. My friends, I am glad in a way that only comes from hindsight. I am glad that this whole nation and the whole world alongside it had to experience what it meant to hold on and wait over this last week. Had to experience what it felt like to dig deep for persistence, because now is no time to loosen our grip. Now is no time to declare victory. and pull back from the organizing, the public health protections, the commitment to equality, and the fight against white supremacy that have characterized the battles so many of us have fought so far. We will be called again to use these muscles of patience and persistence that we have been forced to build. This week was just practice for the strain those same muscles will feel as we move forward in the work of keeping and transforming our republic together. This moment, of course, it is not the end. It is a beginning. And the way ahead will take everything we have to hold on and be the bridge to a new way of living together. A republic, if we can keep it, with enough honesty and enough faithfulness to see us through. May it be so, and amen. As you go from this place, go then to be who you already are. You are the beloved and precious children of everything that is holy in this world and beyond it. And the goodness and the mercy, the power and possibility, the joy and the justice of the Spirit are at loose in you and through you in the world. So go then to be who you already are, and may you be abundantly blessed. Amen.